Good morning and welcome to another hike and art vlog. Today we are at what we call the school trail to Coast Guard Beach because behind me is Point Higgins Elementary School and the trailhead is right here. Goes down to a beautiful beach. So join me, let's get down there and make some art. Today I have my acrylic gouache set with me, so let's see what we can accomplish. Behind me is yet another muskeg in this area. That's what we call our bogs here. And this far edge of it caught on fire many years ago. I think it was a kid who was trying to build a fire for some reason. And even though the bog is really wet, the top of it can catch on fire and then it'll just spread across really quickly. More quickly than one would realize. That actually happened to me the first time I ever tried camping at a muskeg, and I learned really quickly, don't ever try to start a fire on a muskeg. So all those trees over there are dead, and it's really difficult for trees to grow in muskegs, so it could take up to 100 years for this to regenerate. It's still a beautiful area, but that was kind of a sad event. Here we go, down the trail. This trail has copious numbers of these salal berry bushes, and these berries won't be ready till probably September. They are a really sweet berry that has kind of a mealy texture, so people don't really prefer these as much, but they bring up a memory for me of living on a sailboat when I was a teenager. Our family of 5 moved onto a sailboat just before I got into 9th grade, and we lived on the sailboat for about 5 years, and then we sailed from Seattle in Washington up here to Ketchikan, Alaska, and got here in 1981. But on our way here, we would stop and anchor in different remote spots, and we loved these salal berries. My mom would make cobblers and pies. She would put them in different things, and so maybe it was a way to get rid of us kids for a while too, I don't know. But they would send us to the beach, and we would row there in our little skiff, and we would pick just bowls and bowls of these salal berries. They're very deep, almost blackish purple, and very soft, but this trail has a lot of them. This trail also has a lot of huckleberries. This is a red huckleberry, and blue huckleberries. Here's a blue huckleberry. This one is definitely not ripe yet. Here's another one. These are looking a little sad. Here's a couple. This one looks really good. These are pretty sour berries. They're a lot like blueberries, but they are fairly sour, but I eat them anyway because they're here and they're healthy. So here's a bunch of red huckleberries. They are not quite ripe yet. So this trail offers many snacks. Here's a couple of nice blue huckleberries. I might pick those, make for a healthy breakfast snack. Also on this trail there are a lot of salmon berries. They're called salmon berries because the orange ones, they come in this orange color, and they also come in kind of a deep ruby red color, but the orange ones look so much like salmon eggs, so they got dubbed salmon berries. And there's a whole bounty of them right here. These are very sweet, fairly seedy, so you have to bite them gently. I want that one. So this is a fun trail to come down in the morning before breakfast – when you might want a good snack. We often see humpback whales here. They like to feed out there. That is Guard Island. This is all Coast Guard property, and Guard Island is a Coast Guard property. It is no longer manned, but the light still provides guidance to mariners. And we have a lot of tourists in town today, so there's going to be a lot of charter fishing boats. Might see a cruise ship coming down the channel there. Let's see what we want to paint today. I've painted here quite a few times. I have an oil painting blog that I did a little farther down the beach. You can check out the card up above if you want to see that. So I'm looking for kind of a new vista to capture with my acrylic gouache. They just want me to throw the ball. One-track minds. I have my little viewfinder so that I can plan my composition. I can look through that to plan. The little eagle is still posing out there. So that kind of helps to keep me focused on what I want to include here. I definitely want the island. I think I'll put that island in the top, across the top third, the horizon. You know, my little thing of water. I need to cut this thing off the bottom because it's just an impediment. Here's my little acrylic gouache set. I have my wet paper towel underneath this piece of parchment paper that's been working really well as a palette. Always have to have my paper towel. I was complaining in an earlier weekly art tour video about this one color, and it turns out this is burnt sienna, not burnt umber. That's why it's not very dark. I wish I had burnt umber instead. I ordered 3 sets, actually I have 4 sets of acrylic gouache, and I'm finding some colors I just don't want. There's some colors I need more of. I wish this was much darker. It's hard to make a really good dark with this particular set. I've been using the purple a lot to make a good dark. So I need to order some, if I can find it, burnt umber. With a little burnt umber. Put a little water on my brush. This is just a Arches watercolor paper. I think this is sort of a medium weight. I can't remember how many grams it really is. So I want to put these, the eagle just left. Right across this bottom third. With this big rock right here. And this is where the eagle was sitting over here. Right there. I don't know if I can get the eagle in there or not. So I just want to get my darks in. These rocks are actually quite blue. But right now I just want to get my sketch in. The island actually kind of comes pretty close down here. My kids and their friends did a music set over on Guard Island last year, and they just did a new one this year. I'll put a link to the one they did last year. They haven't edited the one from this year yet. So that might be kind of fun if you're curious. It's EDM music, so if you enjoy that. I do. And then let's see, we have this very soft blue mountain range back here too. Covered by mist right here and fog, like so often here in Southeast Alaska. And then this is a lot of very orange rockweed, is what we call it. And this comes down like that. That might make kind of a nice compositional angle. This kind of comes down like that. Okay. So that kind of gives us our, and again, I get really interested in a certain subject, and I think I might have made this island too big. Let me check my handy dandy thingamajig. Yes, this island, according to my measurements, should only come between here. It only actually makes it barely past halfway. So I made that a little bit big. So I'll just fix that. It should only come about barely past halfway by here. We have a humpback whale right out there. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit. So I already have beach rocks in my paint, so the joys of in plein air painting, right? The whale disappeared pretty quickly, sadly, but maybe it'll come back. All right, so I need to make this island smaller. I have painted this scene before, and this is what I do every time I think the island is interesting, so I make it way too big. So let's get that blue of those mountains back there. And those come all the way down here. That's maybe a little too blue. So mix in a little violet. I see sort of a little bit of sun sort of catching that back there. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of a greenish tinge to a couple of these spots. Sun is coming from the left over there. And get those more pale clouds in there. Maybe a little gray, so I'm gonna try to gray them down a little. A little too dark. Kind of in these horizontal lines. Wipe off my brush. And while I'm using the light colored paint, the water is kind of a very lead gray kind of color. Let's see if we can capture that a little. Just kind of get the values. The water is actually a little darker than the sky. Squinting my eyes, trying to see the values. Trying to see the shapes. One thing I've learned from one of my favorite YouTube artists, Malcolm Dewey, is look for shapes, not objects. So instead of painting an island, you're painting shapes. Instead of painting an eagle, you're painting shapes and values. It keeps you from distorting things. I keep getting rocks in my paint. We get a little more blue as we come over here. It gets a little bit lighter over here because again the sun is coming from over there. What sun is getting through on this typically cloudy day in Southeast Alaska? And then we have the beach rocks. While I'm using this lighter colored paint, because I don't have much water to rinse my brush, I try to capture some of this bluish rocks here in front. And I'm gonna get some of these darker colored rocks back there. This is where I wish I had some burnt umber. I'm gonna kind of try to get something dark using the purple and the burnt sienna. Okay, so the darks of these rocks in here, very sharp. Kind of using some red, trying to get some interesting colors in those darks. You hear the ravens calling back there and their loud, loud wing beats. Some of those midtones in there. Some of these little rocks over here. Sort of suggest the rocks rather than try to make them perfect. Okay, now let's tackle that island that I made way too big to start out with. I'm gonna use some yellow ochre with my rock color there, see what I can come up with. It's very grayed down color. I got the proportion of it a little better now. Hint at these trees. Need to be a little darker. These trees are a little tall, so I'm gonna have to bring the sky back down. So those mountains back there, I would say, are a little too vivid. These trees are too tall. Paint's still pretty wet. Let's see if we can knock those down. Just trying to get a balance between everything. I don't think those look like trees yet. I did bring a smaller brush with me, which I normally don't do. That will maybe help me get that lighthouse in there, which is very small. Just a hint of a building. It's a little red top. It's probably enough of a hint. What do you think? Let's get the hint of some of these trees in here, now that I obliterated them. These are actually too close together. It's really hard to get those proportions right. I'm too impatient to wait for this paint to dry, so it's getting all muddy. Sometimes I have to fix these things when I get home. Another challenge when I'm doing in plein air is I don't have my reading glasses, so sometimes I don't know exactly what's going on with the details till I get home. All right, let's get some of that ochre-y rockweed in there. I actually added a deep yellow to my lemon yellow today so I could have a little more variety. So just kind of mixing up, I don't know, dirty yellowish color to put here on the rockweed. A little bit of some algae looking stuff over here. It's kind of greenish. Right here along the beach, still brighter than that. And it's just a little bit of algae stuff going on there. I don't love the way that island is looking. I don't really, it's hard on these morning sessions when you don't have much time, because sometimes you really need just a layer to dry so that you can get things correct. Or you could just be excellent and not make drawing mistakes when you first start. So mix them. The water keeps kind of changing as the clouds move, and it's a little brighter now than it was when I started. Be careful to keep the shapes in there so they look like they have structure, not just a big blob. Let's try to get some transition in there. Maybe a little more shape in some of these areas. Just dropped my brush in the rocks. Most of my problems are right around here now. I don't know if that's dry enough to fix that now. Got a lot of Technicolor stuff going on here too. You're getting kind of muddy now from trying to repair all this. This is why you really need to get your drawing solid at the beginning, otherwise you start fighting everything. I think I probably will be working on this when I get home. It's the trees there are just not the way they should be. Just kind of fussing around and adjusting things right now. Not terribly unhappy with it. There's kind of a gap between these trees that I'd like to capture. Still, it's just not dry enough to adjust. So I'll have to wait for that to dry. These rocks in front are pretty darn purple. I don't know if I enjoy that or not. It's looking pretty Technicolor. Sometimes that's how my gouache paints turn out. I think part of it is just this set of paints. I'd really like to have a burnt umber. I'm having to darken things using purple most of the time. That red is almost useless out here. So I think I need to possibly order another couple colors. I mean, that's no excuse for my poor drawing. I kind of hamstrung myself by not getting this drawing super well when I first started, but there, that's a little better. I want to get a gap between those trees. It's not too bad. Fun to try to capture. I've tried to capture this scene many, many times. It seems like the drawing always turns out with the island too big at first, and that's just because I'm interested in the island. The light has changed over here since I started. The light is shining a lot more down here on this beach, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, I think I'm probably stop there. Need to go home and get some breakfast. Might get some more dark here in this tide line. Just kind of using the leftover paint on my palette here to kind of get that line of transition a little less crazy. Soften that algae a little bit, just using kind of a dry brush. A lot of eagles out here today. I hear one over to that side. There's that one right up there. And then I hear one over there too. They're all yelling at each other. Beautiful morning. Comes a cruise ship down the channel. Dogs are waiting for me to throw their ball. Thanks for joining me this morning. I hope you enjoyed the trail, the berries, the gorgeous area of Southeast Alaska. Even a whale visited us for a second this morning. If you don't want to miss any of these trail adventures and art projects, then consider subscribing. I'd love for you to join this community. I'm having so much fun sharing our gorgeous scenery with everybody. If you'd like to see more and not miss any of the art vlogs, I share my sketchbook tours every week, and sometimes I have some studio painting videos. Consider subscribing. If you know someone who might learn something from these videos, then share. Also, I'd love it if you visited my website at danellekelly.art. I have art that I've done over the years, big oil paintings. I'm adding a lot of these new little watercolor, gouache, and oil paintings that I've been doing more lately there. So I'd love it if you subscribe, hit the like button, share, all that YouTube stuff. So stay creative and have fun.